we do. Good afternoon, you're on the air.
Tim,
Hi, good afternoon, Rick.
I called early this time so I don't stay long and you get crushed out.
Go ahead.
Boy, that was a very interesting exchange, you know. We really must analyze those exchanges you have. First of all, Tim, I mean, we all lived here at the time of the elections, especially. We all lived here in the 5 years leading up to the elections. And what do you think was the most discussed, what the other party was most concerned about? What do you think was the main topic?
The fact that we have a white man as prime minister.
The race card was the biggest topic over those 5 years, and especially at the time of this ridiculous, because I said so at the time, Black Lives Matter hypocrisy. Now, we know what happened to Black Lives. It's like we know a lot more about COVID today than the bullshit we got 4 years ago. We know a lot more today than we knew then, and we shouldn't be acting as if we don't have that knowledge. But we also know what happened to Black Lives Matter. I think you know that the leader of it, the amount of trouble she got in for the money collected and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah.
You know all about that. Turned out to be basically a scam. But I remember on talk making the point that St. Lucia is 99.9 black people.
Yeah.
Of different shades, if you like, but black people.
So if we are exploiting each other, is blacks exploiting blacks? If you are stopped by a police officer,
if you're killing black people,
it's black versus black.
Killing people. So, and I asked those questions during that period because the thing was so hypocritical. I said, when did we discover in St. Lucia that black lives mattered? Whether that they should eat, they should have proper housing, they should not be killed, they should not be raped without resolution, and so on and so on. I asked that question many, many times. So Alan Shastney would be asking to get his ass kicked. In any case, if Alan Shastney had been so stupid, and let's not forget this line about the illusion of inclusion, you know. The illusion of inclusion. Sometimes you get invited so you get your ass kicked, Tim. But if I was Shastney in the circumstances, I certainly would consider it a trap that I would be invited in a heat of elections to a Black Lives Matter. So I'm amazed. I have a lot of time for Mr. Alexander, normally. But that was one hell of a statement to make. Now, you said something that I planned to say. And I was glad you saw it too. The march was a political march. As a matter of fact, the mere matter of inviting politicians to a march makes it political.
But that's the worst thing you could do. You lose credibility immediately once you do that.
I mean, politicians are free like any other citizen. Like he said, the politicians are St. Lucians too. Well, the politicians are free to join a march they think that has concerns coincide with his own concerns. We are free, whatever we're doing, to go to whatever march. But if I were Alan at the time, or any other member of the UWP, frontline member of the UWP, it would have been stupid of me to join that march. Wasn't there an incident at that march anyway? Wasn't there an incident involving, wasn't that the same incident involving Nobby?
I don't think so, no.
Are you sure?
There was an incident, but it coincided with the sitting of the parliament.
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah.
But everybody, not long ago, everybody knew very well the Alan's, what had been built around Alan Shastney, who suddenly became white, because Alan Shastney's father was in charge of all CDC lands, NDC lands. Alan Shastney was doing one thing or another in and out of government and applauded for it. But he suddenly became black the minute he got involved in elective politics.
You said black. He became white.
He became white right away. He became white right away. So then he said also, I don't think Mr. Alexander was at his hottest today. Normally, I'm a big supporter of what he said. He said to you also, the people have the answer. Remember that?
Yeah.
And we should listen to the people. But isn't it the people, at least, and when I say the people, just like him, I don't necessarily, I'm talking about every single person in the country, but the people, we know what that means, right? So if the people are asking for elections, which I, by the way, disagree with, but if the people are asking for elections and you say it is the people who have the answers, how can you turn around and then say what the people are asking for is bull?
But let's be real, it's not generally a significant section of the society normally that will be calling for general elections. One or two politicians.
But Tim, he said what he said was the people have the answers. Of course, you know that people don't have the answers, because if the people had the answers, we would not have the problems. You think the people have the answers to the island's economy? You think the people have the answers to a proper police force? You think the people have an answer to that? The whole book of names of victims of homicide over the last 10 years unresolved. The people are supposed to take care of that. You think that the people have any say in how Parliament is conducted? The people have a say in nothing. The people have a say only according to the Constitution, which they have no access to. They can't challenge any government based on the Constitution. We don't have that kind of money. How many times do you think government has been taken to court on an issue people weren't happy with? How many times? Only Aron has the man as that the other day. And you can see the government is hell-bent on tinkering with the politician. How many of us are saying anything? How many of us stood up while we were not necessarily against the CCJ? How many of us stood up and demanded, because it was not an election matter, how many of us stood up and demanded that the government go to a referendum? How many of us, when there was a march, Pappy showed the march, because again, it was a political thing. But the people generally were so uninformed. That illusion of inclusion as well again. You know, it's a hell of a thing telling people they have a power which they don't. You know, I've said so to Alan publicly. I've said it to him privately. I've said it to him on your show when he was waving the Constitution on your on Newsmaker Live. Mm-hmm. If you don't have access, if you don't have the money to hire the lawyers to go up against what the government is doing, you lose. And we know very well that the government can hire 5 of the best lawyers around, in and out of St. Lucia. How many can you hire?
None.
What avenues do we have for a citizen to reasonably take on a government doing something it doesn't like? What?
And in some instances, even if you can afford an attorney, which attorney will take your case?
That's another story. The attorneys, the Bar Association is almost like, has been for the longest while, 2 political parties. The Bar Association has for the longest while, and again, I remember when Winston Snacks told me at the store that the Bar Association existed for the purposes of lawyers. He used a different word than purposes. It's just me now. In other words, the Bar Association, in fact, if you check their mandate and whatever, they don't exist primarily for advising people, because that's what they make, and Snack said so. That's what they make their money from. So if you want to complain about the government doing something or passing a law that is unconstitutional or whatnot, they are not interested in that, Tim. And who has the money to do that? Who has the money for the appeals? And always remember as well, even when you want to go to court, I don't want to say the government, but the optics are very strange. Because even if you want to go, you have no idea how long it will take for it to go through the process. Recently, I want to repeat that. Recently, a judge recused himself from a case on the basis that he felt there was political interference. You hear me good? And by coincidence, a few weeks after he made that allegation, he was transferred to Grenada. Now, I am not going to say there is a connection, but there's certainly room to speculate, Tim.
Absolutely.
But who is going to pick that up? Who is going to pick that up? How long a case takes to get to before the courts? The politicians are too close, Tim, to the judiciary. They are too close. You look at the conflicts of interest going on there, and there's nothing you can do about it. So people are talking about rights and whatnot. They only have rights in terms of in their minds, and the people have the answers. The people don't have the answers, and even if they, and it's not a question for the government to listen. Government ministers ought to have some kind of track record that would induce us to want to have them in government. Look at the politicians we have. What track record do they have? Why do we expect cockroaches to be like eagles? Because 3/4 of our parliamentarians, you would not put them in charge of your business. These are facts. These guys have speeches written for them, and they badly read the speech, let alone to fully understand. I mentioned that yesterday. All these reports that are written are put on the shelf because, first of all, the politicians are not inclined to read. Secondly, they can't read. And when they read, there's every reason to believe they don't understand what they read. And even when they do read it, they don't care. So I don't want to stay too long for them to cut short.
Yeah.
But that speech, that exchange, I thought was very, very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you so much.